Morning, Toki.
Good morning, Wolf. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I just had this pretty funny moment where I just sat down at my desk. So I sat down and all of a sudden I have this feeling that my chair is sinking lower. You know how sometimes that lever gets pulled and your chair drops down? And so I'm sitting there and I'm feeling oh, my chair's going lower, but then I'm sitting there and I'm feeling around, I'm my chair's not moving. And then stuff starts falling off my desk, and I realize I still have my standing desk plugged in, and I accidentally hit the button, and my desk was raising up, but that was not a thought in my mind. So in my mind, my chair was dropping down, and then stuff just started getting pulled off my desk from wires, and I was like, oh shoot, the desk is moving up. So yeah, troubles of a standing desk life. That's what's been going on for me this morning.
That's actually slightly terrifying because I can just imagine how much stuff is currently on your desk
Oh
and the
yeah.
stuff that's plugged in. Just having that torn apart sounds
Th-
terrifying.
thankfully, it wasn't too much. Just one of my fans and one of my chargers.
Okay. I was like, if your
There,
computer gets pulled off, that's
No,
terrifying.
you're totally correct. I have way too much stuff on my desk, including a massive screen. Morning, Brian.
Hey man, how's it going? Morning.
Good, good. How's the Asia life treating you? Are you over there now?
Haha, yeah, doing good, doing good. Some good networking.
What time is it over there?
It's 10 p.m. here.
Got you, got you. Cool. I'm ready for them as soon as they get in here. I'm keeping an eye out for them. I do see we already got Kayla popping in. Good morning, Kayla. How's it going?
Good. What's up, guys?
Doing good, doing good. Just getting the morning started here. Got the morning workout in, some breakfast, and ready to roll with some spaces here for the next little while. Do
What's your
this thing.
morning workout routine?
Right now I've been working out almost every day. I do a rotation. I do 2 leg days a week, one arms, one shoulders, one chest. Sometimes if I need a break day, I do cardio. So today I did shoulders. So yeah, and sometimes I can only do 5 days a week because there's stuff going on. But when I have the opportunity to do 6 or 7, I'll do it.
That's totally fair. I actually started finishing out almost all of my workouts with around like 10 to 15 minutes of cardio, and it feels like it's helping. I've definitely noticed a loss of weight, but I'm still maintaining muscle mass.
There
So
you go.
it's kind of working out in my favor.
I love it. Hey, real quick, I'm gonna try to get Zero Lend up on stage here. I did send them an invite, Brian. So just waiting to see if they are gonna pop in. I guess we'll give it a minute here, just to check out what ultimately happens. But yeah, this morning, by the way, a couple quick updates, I suppose, in the world of crypto as we're waiting for them to get in here, and there they are. So right now, Bitcoin is at 61.2. Wouldn't be surprised if it retrips back to 62K ASAP. Seems like it loves doing that. You also do have Ethereum over here. Oh, there we go. I see Joshua coming up. Ethereum slightly under 3K, so that's going on. And you got defense running again today. That makes sense. Checks out. Ooh, looking nice. All right, here we go. I got him on stage, and then I think we might have a couple of other folks like Action potentially popping in. So I'll let them come in when they come in. But for now, I think we can go ahead and we can get started. Joshua, you ready to go?
Yeah, so it's me and it's Riker coming in from the Zeroland account. He's the founder. He's also here. I would say he's going to be leading most of it. I'm going to be around too.
Okay,
Hello,
sounds
hello.
good. Riker, right?
Yep, nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks for jumping up on stage with us this morning. If you're ready to go, I'm going to roll us right into it.
Yep, all set.
All right, perfect. Okay, so good morning, everybody. We are going to be talking with Zero Lend this morning. We're talking about the lending markets. I'm going to pin a couple of posts up top as well, just so that you can check out, what's happening here in regards to lending and liquidity and all types of things like that. But Zero, which is their token, is already live trading on OKX and Bybit, KuCoin, BitJet, and a bunch of others that you can take a look at from their pinned tweet. They've also uploaded 450,000 plus wallets to their claim site already. So some pretty cool stuff, and obviously a lot of interest going on here from the community. So with that being said, I want to roll us into it. Riker, if you want to give just a brief introduction of yourself, who's behind the account, what your role is at the company, and then we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Nice to meet you guys. My name is Riker. I'm the creator of Zeroland. So I'm the guy, the main guy running the show, the founder, CEO, whatever. Um, so super excited to be here. And yeah, so my background is computer science and math. I've been in DeFi for about 45 years. We grew up Zeroland not less than a year ago, honestly. And it's been a crazy, crazy growth journey since then, but we still have a long way to go. So that's sort of the brief on Zeroland and my role over there.
Perfect. Thank you. And Joshua, did you want to throw an intro in?
Sure, sure. So yeah, hey guys, Joshua here. I lead growth and strategy at Zeroland. And my background in the space for the past 3 to 4 years has been spread around. I've been helping protocols, teams, founders with growth. And actually, this is, I think, my third or fourth time at Wolf Financial. I think I have come for a bunch of other projects a long, long while ago. I believe Wolf. I've also been in when you were I think sub 20K subscribers. I've been here on Spaces back there as well. So I see that Wolf Financial is a staple for projects to come on board, showcase what they're doing, and then it's just been around for a really long while, man. So it's great to see that you guys have come so far as well.
Yeah, shout out Joshua. We were actually messaging, Joshua and me were messaging before I even went full time with Spaces. Back in like May of 2021, you hit me up. I mean, I was literally a few months into hosting Spaces, and so I've seen you in them for years now.
Yeah, yeah, it's great to be here. So yeah, my core role has been around growth and strategy. I'm also an advisor at Linea, at various other protocols on the Linea ecosystem. Zeroland, Zeroland is one of the core protocols where I'm leading growth at now. So yeah, excited to be here, guys, and thanks for having us.
Perfect. Awesome. Appreciate that, Joshua. It's great to have you up here on stage with us. So, Riker, I'll throw it back over to you since you guys have given some great intros. We're obviously talking about the lending market here, liquidity, some of these other pieces. Walk us through kind of the high level elevator pitch here in a couple of minutes. What do you guys do? What are you building? What's the problem that it's solving?
Right. So what we're building is a lending market. So what that means is basically it's typically like your bank. But if people are familiar with DeFi, it's very similar to Aave or Compound. Essentially, people come in with their assets and they take loans against it in a decentralized way. So that's the core problem that we're solving, but we're a little bit more than just a money market, a lending market. Do all kinds of we specifically focus on the newer blockchains that are out there. So Linea is one of them, ZK Sync, Manta, Blast. So Zerolin right now has a presence in each of these chains. I think we're right now in 6 to 7 different blockchains as of today. And in a lot of these blockchains, Zerolin solves a problem in creating a money market for users to lend and borrow assets, right, in these individual chains. And so a lot of these chains, you'll find Zerolin to be the largest, if not the top three protocols out there. And yeah, that's sort of the problem that we're trying to solve. And moving forward, we're super excited to find or find ways or opportunities where we can unlock liquidity for newer kinds of assets, for newer kinds of blockchains, and so on and so forth. So that's sort of what we are doing right now.
Perfect. Appreciate the high level there. And I'm glad that you gave a couple of the comparisons as well. I think that helps people put it a little bit into place in their heads as to exactly what we're discussing. I think we covered a little bit on the overview here. Perhaps we can get more into the ecosystem in a second, but I did cover some of the exchanges. I think it'd be helpful for you to just reiterate it. What exchanges are the tokens currently listed on right now? What are the plans to continue to expand that? I know everybody's always aiming for tier one. Maybe you could just walk me through your thoughts there.
Yeah, so we're working our way towards all the tier one exchanges. I think if you look at the um, top 10 exchanges on CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, Zerolin is already trading there. Um, and we just went live like 4 or 5 days ago on a lot of these exchanges. So OKX, Bybit, KuCoin, Gate, MEXC, BitGet, Huobi, Poloniex. So these are some of the exchanges, I think, sort of 9 places where users can sort of start trading or buying or selling whatever Zerolin tokens, right? And yeah, we're looking to get more exchanges listed. So as of today, we do have the major ones on your top 10 on CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap. But of course, we are working our way towards the other exchanges as well. So yeah, it's a pretty exciting moment to be in right now.
Perfect. Appreciate the answer there. And then follow up on that. In regards to the token, of course, you also did some fundraising efforts recently. I'd love for you to walk through, what were the recent fundraising efforts like? What are the outcomes? And then what are people most interested about here, right? When you're going out and you're fundraising, I suppose you're probably offering people, hey, there's a lot of these lending protocols, there's a lot of different markets here. We have something that differentiates us. It's our moat, competitive advantage. What was that? And then how did that feed into the fundraising efforts?
Yeah, so our fundraiser, so we raised, I think, 3 million USD back in the month of Jan of this year. So it's been a while since we raised capital. A lot of the capital was used to do audits, audits and risk management for lending protocol for us. Basically, a lending protocol is super super, I guess, expensive to run. You have to do a lot of risk management, a lot of tools, a lot of audits need to be done to make sure that all users are safe and secure. But in a sense, yeah, we saw a lot of growth back in the month of Jan. Ever since we launched in August of last year, there's been consistent growth in Zerolend nonstop. And we project or we hope to see this continue to grow even after our token is live. Given that our token is now live, we hope to see more people coming in with liquidity, providing LP and doing things like that. But yeah, this has been the main thesis is that basically it's a lending protocol or a DeFi protocol that is growing pretty fast on L2s, which could have a chance of becoming one of the dominant lending protocols in the future, right? We are working our way towards that step by step. But yeah, this is the thesis, and we're also building on new innovations. Zerolin right now is building on an upcoming V2 as well, which we haven't announced just quite yet. But the summary is that we are basically building a lot of things in the lending space and growing a lot fast than probably other lending protocols out there. So that's really the gist of it, Wolf. Hope I could answer your question properly.
Yeah, I appreciate the answer. Let's roll around the panel a little. I do have some more thoughts myself as well. Toki, go for it.
All right, so I know I'm probably starting off a little strong here, but my question for you guys, considering that L2s are usually built on Ethereum, and I believe yours is as well, what happens if Ethereum does kind of get brought down by the US government or the SEC? Do you have any thought process on how you're going to continue, or do you think you'll ever switch to a different L2?
Yeah, so a lot of the L2s, like not just, I mean, Ethereum itself is the home for a lot of these L2s.
You cut out for me.
Oh yeah, I can't hear either.
Yeah, we lost you, Riker, for a second here. We'll probably come cutting back in. Feels like it's been a little while since it's happened like that action where people used to just like be talking and then
Yeah.
fade out, just fade right back
Uh,
in.
I don't know if he can hear us as well. I okay, I can actually carry on for him.
Thank you.
But on that question, no worries. I don't think he realized the way. Let me just drop him a quick message.
He's probably over there just talking. I'm giving the best answer ever. Yeah.
Yeah, I just dropped him a message. I hope he sees it. All right, but I can take over from there. So, but basically, right, when you see the whole SEC versus Ethereum thingy, right? So, Consensus is the same organization that's leading the lawsuit against them, and well, on a side note, they're also invested in Zeroland. Uh, but what I'd like to actually highlight over here is Ethereum as an asset class or as an infrastructure. It's completely decentralized, right? I think it's probably after Bitcoin, obviously, it's probably the most decentralized asset. And as an infrastructure provider as well, I think it's here to stay, right? Because I think not just crypto or DeFi infrastructure hinges on using or utilizing Ethereum to function, but a majority of the infrastructure that's even outside of the crypto space is going to be using, the general blockchain infrastructure to function. So I don't think as a network, it can be taken down if it makes sense. So that's one thing. And the second thing is, as a lending infrastructure, I can highlight what our thesis is for you. And that's also what's led to our growth, right? So originally, when we launched in July, we launched on just one layer two, which was called ZK Sync. And at this stage, we're there on 5 different layer twos, and we're going to continue expanding. So as a lending infrastructure, we're not limited to just a few layer two ecosystem, but we can constantly scale. So that's one thing. The second thing is we have version 2 in the works. Now, this is not public info yet, but that's going to be infinitely scalable. And what that means is we're not just limited to EVM compatible layer 2s, but we can pretty much expand to any and every blockchain that is out there in the space. So what we do is we just package the best of security and infrastructure as a lending protocol that's out there in the market, create that fine balance, and we can deploy, scalably on any chain that's out there. So it really isn't going to make much difference to us as long as crypto continues to exist. We're going to be there providing necessary lending market infrastructure.
That was a beautiful answer. I'm going to toss it over to Action. Thank you, Josh.
I mean, I think you just skimmed over something that people are going to love you for. Can you go back in regards to that little piece you said about who's suing the SEC and who's investing in you guys?
So
Okay. You wanna touch on that, Josh? Like, we really don't want to get political too much, honestly, but we're
no,
super.
yeah, I agree with that. So, but that was just a side note. But the entire lawsuit that was taken on, defending Ethereum as a security against the government or the SEC was Consensus. Consensus essentially is one of the largest and oldest organizations in the space. And yeah, it did get formed from the Ethereum Foundation itself, and majority of the largest founders who exist in the space, they are from Consensus as well, right? So they're the ones who's leading the lawsuit, and I believe that lawsuit is something that's 2 years in the works. And I mean, I don't want to get political. I think everything that's happening is just publicly available for everyone to read. But as a lending protocol, right, where you can check on our website as well. They're investors in us. But apart from that, we're also working closely aligned with the Consensus ecosystem, which is why Linea is also a largest market. So Linea is basically the blockchain by Consensus. They're layer 2. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't think this is anything political. I think everybody's upset with the way things are running over there. So there's no sides. We're all on the same side here. But here's a quick question. Just thinking about all the different L2s, is there any plans to bring liquidity together and be able to have cross liquidity available in these chains? Just because, I mean, sometimes they're just small, right? And if they're just starting out, leveraging liquidity from different chains could be very beneficial.
Yeah, so I can shed some light on that, right? Really, so we're building a V2, and that's going to aggregate liquidity from the Ethereum mainnet and kind of bridge it to a lot of the new L2s that are out there. So this idea of combining liquidity in one place is something we're working on right now. Not just Zeroland, all the other money markets that are out there, the liquidity is fragmented. And this is something we are looking to solve in the next couple of months with our upcoming V2. So hope that answers your question.
It does, and that's the V2 that you haven't announced or told anybody else about, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Right.
As always, this is super appreciative that Alpha comes to Wolf first.
Sweet. Appreciate the question and the answer there. Oh, I see. It's still giving Nyx trouble on the spaces, I think. I was trying to get her back up. All right, all right. I'll bring it back up for a second. Okay, so Zero Lend, can you walk us through? I think we talked about a lot of the stuff that's happened previously with the fundraise, with some of the items and details that are coming in. What's the next stretch look like for you here? What are you looking to accomplish throughout the rest of 2024? Maybe you can give us some goals, milestones, things people should be paying attention to.
Yeah,
I,
so the rest of Josh, do you want to go or I can go?
yeah, I can give people, the more short-term hype stuff, and you can give them a much larger breakdown. So, but yeah, in my opinion, I think the more short-term exciting stuff that we have upcoming is something that we've soft rolled out already. So every user that claimed 0 tokens, they were given a prompt that if you want, you can stake it. So we have a staking. So we have a staking dashboard that's already live, right? And we've done something interesting. Which I don't think a lot of protocols have done. But basically, as an ecosystem, right, the more new ecosystems that we dive into and the more chains we deploy on, the more assets we make available to lend against, we're going to be eligible as a protocol for their tokens as an airdrop. And what to give you a quick example, EigenLayer, they don't have their token yet. Renzo, all the entire restaking market, most of them don't have their tokens out yet. And the second thing is the chains that we're deploying on, they don't have a native token yet, right? Like Linea, zkSync, and zkSync drop is likely coming extremely soon. Can't comment when, but it is happening soon. And we as a protocol, we're going to be entitled to all those airdrops. So what we've done is everybody who buys and stakes ZeroLend, you'd be entitled to a share of all the tokens that we're going to be airdrop, which we're going to be giving back to token stakers. And that's our model, I think, in order to reward users. So it's been like a huge flywheel where everybody came in, they started using our protocol, they got airdrop rewards, and those who now continue to stake it's going to be another flywheel of everything that we get, we're going to give back to the community. So it's a very decentralized driven protocol that we aim to do. The goal is to decentralize the token, have our token spread out in as many hands, and that's what the pin tweet says, right? Like we have about 18% of our supply right now spread out in 500k plus wallets, which is a very, very good decentralized holding base. And yeah, that's I think in the short term, our staking campaign is what's most exciting. And after Riker to talk about the more long term stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to try my best until hope Elon Musk does not drug me again. The Twitter space keeps on crashing, guys. I don't know what's going on, but if Josh can fill in the rest, that would be fantastic. But from my side, as we mentioned, we're innovating on, as Josh mentioned, we're innovating on staking incentives, but at the same time, working towards newer blockchains, newer assets, unlocking liquidity, all these sort of things, right? And so the end goal for us is to be a bigger protocol, hit the $1 billion TVL mark. We're sort of working our way towards it, and that's basically it.
Sweet. I appreciate it. Okay, flipping into a couple of these other pieces. One of your initiatives is called Zero to Zillion. What's the specific goals, strategies? Can you elaborate on that one? I was looking into it.
Yeah, sure. So that's actually, so to give you a background, we run campaigns to kind of incentivize activity, and usually when a protocol has gone live and they don't have their token yet, they reward users with an early representation of your token, and that's what was called early zero for us, right? So, but what we've done is we've added a points campaign, and I don't know if you guys have been tapped into either Manta or EigenLayer or Blast. All of these protocols, they've kind of it's been the season of points, where you essentially give points which equate to a specific amount of the supply, which is given out as rewards, and these essentially are boosters for to incentivize activity and get people to use your protocol, get your initial user base, and then the people who stay back after the airdrop farming are essentially the ones who really want to use your protocol, right? So the first campaign which we had was called Zero Gravity, and that was our campaign to get our users pre-TG, and we had over 1 million users who signed up through that. So now the second campaign, which is going live, is called Zero to Zillion, and it's just a marketing campaign. It does the same function as we did for the previous campaign, but it's another booster in terms of rewards for using the protocol for lending and borrowing. But the phrase Zero to Zillion is a marketing phrase that we've thought up, and essentially it signifies that $1 billion is great and all, but there's no limit to how high we want to go in terms of TVL that we want to capture. So we're calling it Zero to Zillion, So just not to leave that TVL that we want to hit uncapped, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's a marketing campaign.
Got it. Okay, appreciate the details on there. Definitely stands out when someone says Zero to Zillion. So I appreciate it. I also know that we like to dig into these on Spaces, the tokenomics of all these, how airdrops are going to be structured, details of your mission schedule. Yes, if you walk through all those pieces, that would be perfect.
Sure. So right now on circulating, we have about 25% of the supply circulating. There won't be any more unlocks for about 3 to 6 months, except those that are paid out as APRs to people who are lending and borrowing, for the organic activity. And that's the first piece. The second piece is the investors who have come in, as I mentioned, for about 3 to 6 months, they're all clipped. So everyone's got their initial 25%, and, we've had the trading done. So now the rest of the unlocks happen 3 to 6 months from now. Majority of the unlocks coming in 6 months from now. So we have about 6 months to build and let fundamentals push the price up, and we have a great set of fundamentals, right? I know how you guys host spaces at Wolf Financial, not just in crypto, but even analyzing the stock market. So some data that I can give you guys is, if you guys go to Dune Analytics dashboard, it analyzes the revenue we're making off of just one chain. So right now, if you go to ZK Sync, we're there on 6 different markets, but just on ZK Sync, we're making about $250,000 monthly. And this is in protocol fees on borrowing interest that we collect. And again, the more fees you make or the more cash flow you have in fees, it does tie back to pushing the token price up. So in a way, it's flywheel where we say that the more TVL and more activity we have on our lending protocol, the more fees the protocol generates. So that's one thing. And the second thing in terms of tokenomic structure, the airdrops, the way that we have, I would say right now we already have one airdrop that is Pith, but we are likely to have at least 5 to 10 more based on the chains we've deployed on, the assets we're using for LRTs. And I can give you a list as well: ZK Sync, Linea, Manta, Blast, XLayer. XLayer is going to be mostly just emission rewards, but LRTs like EigenLayer. So we, as a protocol, have gathered points as well. So we're going to be entitled to all of these airdrops, whenever they TGE and give it out to their protocols over the next 6 months to 1 year. You can think of each one of these airdrops as cash injections into our ecosystem, right? So the way we distribute this back is we have a 40-40-20 rule. So 20% of all airdrops we get goes back into our treasury so the team or the DAO can run governance on these protocols. And 40% is directly distributed back to stakers. So, the moment we get the airdrop, we do the split. 40% is directly distributed by stakers based on their weight. And what I mean by weight is, whenever you stake your tokens, you have the ability to do time lock. You're locking your tokens for, say, 1 year or 2 years or 3 months or 4 years. And what you get back when you lock your tokens for that period of time is a replacement of the weight of your token stake. And based on the relative weight across the board, you're going to be airdropped, 40% of the supply. So that's how the airdrop mechanism is going to work. And 40% is going to be going back into our different markets to incentivize liquidity, right? So for example, say we get a ZK Sync airdrop in the next month, 40% of the supply is going to be going back to the ZK Sync markets to give people real yield when they're actually borrowing and lending on our protocol. So that's the general airdrop model we have, and the emissions and the fees and etc. So yeah, hope that gives a good roundup.
Yeah, that's definitely good. We might dig a little bit further into that, but I do see a hand up from Kayla.
So I've never spoken to a lending protocol that's focused on real world assets. Does that work differently than the other things that you're lending?
Sure. Yeah, I can give you a quick rundown. So, I think at the start, I briefly touched upon what we as a lending protocol provide as, lending infrastructure in newer chains. But the second part of what makes us unique or sets us apart from the other lending protocols out there is we also do dabble in exotic assets. What I mean by that is when there's new assets in the crypto market, such as LRTs, big protocols like Aave and Compound, they aren't listing them. So, and LRTs, while they are liquid, like you can go to a DEX, you can swap them. For them, the risk averseness is so high because they have a DAO, they're decentralized, so they don't really dive into any new assets, right? But the entire restaking industry itself is worth, I think, $7 or $10 billion, and this is all liquidity that people want to borrow against, and they want to do different functions. So LRTs, RWAs, all of these are assets that we list on our lending protocol to allow people to borrow against. Now, having said that, what I will also add on is we're not completely degen. We're also risk averse, where we have a risk model and we run them, in the form of isolated assets. So the way that works is, say we get a new RWA asset, and the only RWA asset we've listed so far is T-bills. So the advantages to lending, T-bills, and I'll give you an example. We've listed something called Mountain Protocol. So Mountain Protocol allows people to mint USD using ETH, and that gives you a 5% yield because their RWA protocol stablecoin that's backed by treasury yields. And treasury yields, it gives you a yield of 5%. So it's essentially a yield-bearing stablecoin. And when we allow people to take their stablecoin and borrow against it, it not just gives them the regular yields they get for borrowing or supplying their assets and allowing people to borrow against it. So they get paid interest for it, but they get that additional 5%. So it's like this combined DeFi play, which people can speculate. And there's a lot of RWA stablecoin T-bill backed tokens that's coming up. So that's a very new market. So we're not really heavily going and listing every other RWA that's out there. We've only taken 2 so far. One is USDB, which is the native stablecoin on Blast, and the second one is Mountain Protocol, which is again the treasury bearing stablecoin on Manta. So we're going to continually monitor the space, and when we see that the risk averseness is safe enough for us to list as a Lightning protocol, at the same time it's also liquid enough, then we go ahead and then list it in our protocol.
Do you guys think that you're the only ones focusing on that right now, or do you have competition there?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say a lot of newer lending protocols, they're also doing this. Like, for example, on Manta, we have 2, 3 other protocols that's doing that. On Blast as well, we have around 3 lending protocols that's doing that apart from us. On ZK Sync, we're the only dominant one. There's nobody that's even as big as us. Same thing on Linea, where I would say we're at least 5 times bigger than all the other lending protocols. But essentially what sets us apart, or what our goal is, we're not here to dunk on the competition or just try and compete, but our goal is fairly simple. Create that fine balance between security and creating an exotic atmosphere and allowing people to have more assets, more chains to play with, but deliver that in a safely way. And what I mean by that, we've spent over $1 million in security, which means Aave's partners for risk management is also our partners, Chaos, and specifically on Linea, we're also working with Gauntlet. So these guys are just specifically offering risk management. On top of that, we've engaged with bug bounty programs, audits. So the reason we're usually dominant in whichever chain we deploy on is while we offer everything else that our competition offers us on these chains, we're also creating that fine balance between giving the highest level of security we can at that chain. So yeah, that's our model which we go in.
Yeah, I saw you guys do a lot of security on your page. You have partnered with a lot of security companies, so that's awesome.
Sweet. Really good questions. Appreciate it. All right, let me throw another one in and then might double back over to you, Action, see if there's anything on your mind. We talked about a little bit of the governance stuff just briefly with tokenomics. In terms of governance, what are the initiatives that are currently in the pipeline there? Maybe you could share, we talked about roadmap, but anything specific to governance that's upcoming down the road?
Sure. So if you listen to myself and Riker at the start, we're one for avoiding politics. So in a way, what that means is we feel that the best governance is the least amount of governance. So our governance model is basically minimalistic. It basically allows user to participate in the most necessary stuff, and we want to prevent things like what's happening on Aave's governance and things like that, right? Basically, so essentially what we're going to have is people who hold our token or have a V model, they can vote for where they want the rewards to go to. And what that means is on a monthly basis, we have a fixed amount of rewards that's distributed across all our markets. So if people do hold tokens, right, they can vote on where they want those emissions to go to. Okay, say they want, we want more emissions to go to the ZK Sync markets on this specific pool. They can vote on that, right? And then usually, so pool voting is something that's live on Curve. And I think we're the first lending protocol to have this kind of model, where people can vote for where they want rewards to go to. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, whenever you have this model, you have this thing called bribes, as in, say there's a protocol that's saying that, okay, we want more rewards to come to our pool. They can actually pay bribes to holders to come and vote for them, right? So these bribes are also paid out. Okay, say you're a holder, you have 100 V tokens or 100 zero lend tokens as a voting power. You're like, okay, I'm going to go vote 25 on these polls, and these people are giving me higher bribes, so I'm going to go vote 50 over there, right? So I would say a basic pool voting mechanism is going to be going live along with bribes. And apart from that, general governance forums where discussions around the future of the protocol, the governance, the different steps that we have to take will go live to allow people to vote for it and give their thoughts on it, and also help us as a protocol to take into account what the users want to do. So that's the basic governance model, and I think it's an evolving roadmap as well. As we progress along, if our community wants something, we're active on Discord, and we have over 200,000 users on Discord as well. So we're going to listen to them, and then we're going to incorporate that into our roadmap.
Perfect. All right. Action, or I see we got Lucas up here on stage. Any thoughts from you guys into the mix? If not, I have another one.
I mean, I'm just wondering here, I see you're trying to come up with a lot of different incentives. Is the bulk of the incentives going to be on the lender or the borrower side of things?
That's a very good question. So usually, the way the balance works in the lending protocol is anyone who wants to borrow, you still have to supply an asset, right? So anyone who actually is coming and borrowing, you are supplying some asset to borrow against it. So I can give you a case scenario, for instance, right? So say I, as a user, I have 10 spare ETH lying. I'm going to deposit 10 ETH in the protocol, and anyone who comes and borrows against it, I would be entitled to the interest, right? So the APR that's being paid out to everyone who supply assets, it's pretty much governed by the demand of how much borrowing there is, how much borrowing activity there is, and those borrowers are essentially going to pay back interest when they come and get their collateral back, right? So now, case in point, we also list exotic assets. So, for example, Renzo ETH is one of the restaking protocols in the EigenLayer ecosystem, right? So someone wants to say, so Renzo is not as liquid, but at the same time, it's very attractive for people to want to do more with it, right? So say I hold 10 Renzo ETH, but I was like, okay, I want to get more Renzo ETH so that I get a bigger airdrop from them. So I go deposit 10 Renzo ETH and I borrow against my Renzo ETH. I borrow more ETH. I go back into the Renzo protocol, I loop it, I mint more Renzo ETH, and I go supply it on ZeroLand, right? So now essentially instead of 10 Renzo ETH, you've borrowed against it. You're essentially leveraging yourself, similar to how billionaires play with banks and, they use their stocks to leverage against it. So in the crypto space, leverage is, I would say, one of the bigger use cases which people use lending protocols for, where they leverage their position on an asset that they think is going to give them more upside. So they borrow against that asset, get more of that asset, and then they hold a higher position than they originally have. So that's how it works. So when we say incentives, we're essentially giving you incentives for suppliers, because without having that initial supply liquidity, we can't have that borrowing activity kickstarted. Now, when borrowers come in, they essentially pay interest, and which goes to the suppliers, and the protocol also makes fees. So that's the general mechanism of how it works.
So essentially, the idea is to increase the rewards that people are getting instead of just the simple interest that they would otherwise earn anywhere else. You're looking at the airdrops. You're looking at these different types of incentives that you're calling them bribes, but marketing people would probably be like, yeah, incentives, not bribes, guys. You're trying to find ways to really incentivize people to take advantage of your protocol versus others, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I think that's an extremely good point, because at the end of the day, you have 100 different lending protocols, right? As a single user, when you want to go and deposit your assets somewhere, you're going to deposit wherever you're going to have the highest return on your investment, but the lowest amount of risk, right? So as a protocol, that's our goal. So we had a zero fee campaign, which means as a protocol for about 25 days before launch, we collected absolutely no fees as a protocol. So that means we allocated more amount of percentage that people gained on interest. So that was very attractive to suppliers and lenders and borrowers to come in and just do the activity on ZeroLend as opposed to anywhere else, right? So despite the fact that we're not zero fee anymore, we're going to continue to remain a competitive lending market just on the base borrowing interest and fees. But yes, we are going to continuously add all of these cash injections, which makes these rewards and incentives much bigger for users.
Toki, please go for it.
Thank you. I'll definitely have to agree that maybe using incentives instead of bribes is the best way to say things in the marketing field. Um, that was just funny, especially to hear from you guys. But whenever we're looking at basically what you guys are doing, I'm really interested in regards to kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier in regards to real world assets. Whenever you do look at real world assets and how they can be brought into the crypto sphere, I tend to see a lot of companies where they're trying to bring real world assets in, and it doesn't always actually work out very well because of the intricacies as far as what the product is, what they're bringing to the table, sometimes the laws within the different countries that they're within. What are some assets that you actually think will be easy to bring into the real world assets for Zero Lend in comparison to, let's say, trying to sell a house?
That's an extremely good question. So I think, when you look at financial markets in general, right, you take into account two things really. The liquidity of the asset and how easy you can get money against it, right? Because that's what matters for us as a lending protocol. So that's one thing. And the second piece is, as you pointed out, the regulatory constraints and being able to tokenize and bring the assets. So having said these two things, the most common asset or the most common and liquid RWA that's being used in the space right now are treasury bills, essentially, because treasury bills, it offers you that 5% yield. As a financial instrument, it's also attractive and it's sustainable yields, right? So when you bring an asset like that and you create more DeFi plays that you can with it, and the legal grounds on that is like, there's different ways that people do it, but there are company which follow regulations and they're able to tokenize T-bills or create an RWA stablecoin that's backed by T-bills, which so it's essentially giving you the same yield as a T-bill would, but it's in the crypto tokenized state, right? So these, in my opinion, I would say these are the ones that's going to come in first. And I'm personally not looking, heavily into the RWA space where it's backed by houses, But again, when you bring real estate into question, it's also about that liquidity and how exactly do you account, say, the rents that you're being paid. How do you get that and convert that into crypto, right? So the whole tokenization space is something that's up and coming, and it's the same stance for us as a team, right? We are always looking at the markets from a very broad scale, and we're going to be looking at which assets we can integrate and how best it's going to play in for us as a lending protocol. And again, so for us, it's just three basic criteria. How secure is it? Does it follow regulation? Second is how liquid is the asset against it? Third is it attractive enough for someone to want to come and deposit and then borrow against it, right? So if it meets these criteria, it can be brought on chain, simple enough, and then we can put it in a risk averse way into our protocol. We're going to be doing that, and so far we've done it only with two, and that's, as I pointed out, USDB and Mountain Protocol, but that's also very widely adopted in two different ecosystems. So as more keep popping up, we're going to have our eyes on it, and eventually we'll see which is the best ones to bring in, and we're going to bring that on.
Thank you for the candid answer. I know it can be a little bit difficult, especially with the regulations, but treasury bills are something that I guess I haven't truly explored as far as bringing in as a real world asset. So maybe that's something that I don't know if you guys are able to, but kind of help people understand what type of assets you actually are maybe looking for in a lending type of protocol. Because I'm going to say that most people, whenever they are looking at this and they're like, oh, I can bring my real world assets to put into this lending protocol, maybe they're not sure what actual assets that they have that they can put into this. And I'm not sure that's something that maybe even most people know that treasury bills would be something to be looking into.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, but when I say treasury bills, right, it's not that someone who owns treasury bills in the real world, they can bring that and do it, right? So it's done through specific protocols in space. And yeah, I think that's where the education or the learning curve comes in, where people who understand it well enough, they can talk about it. And yeah, and I think, the best way for people to explore this specific niche is to just go and read up on these protocols. So one, for instance, if you just go through the ZeroLand feed or our markets on Manta or Blast, you yourself will find, what these assets are, and then you can go up, read up on them. Like, okay, this is what they do, this is how they work, this is how they're regulated, and is it in my risk capacity? Yes or no? Then they dabble into it or not. But I would say, predominantly lending protocols. I would, the largest niche so far is the classic lending and borrowing, and after that, I would say the restaking market and the restaking market for Ethereum is becoming incredibly huge for lending. And I don't see that stopping anytime soon. I only see that increasing. So if you go to DeFi Llama and you check on the general restaking space, I'm pretty sure it's in the billions of dollars in locked TVL, and that's securing Ethereum as an ecosystem. And people want to be able to do more with those assets.
I definitely agree. Thank you very much. Action, I think you were about to say something. If you want to toss it back to you.
Sure, I can definitely say something. So you mentioned something really, really cool. You talked about mortgages here. So are we gonna see mortgage-backed securities anytime soon on on Zero Land? And are you guys the next Lehman Brothers, or what's going on?
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I don't think we're ever gonna do that. It's unlikely that he even makes it in the space. You know what's funny? I think I saw a reel very recently, which was comparing the entire Lehman Brothers pitch to a crypto founder's pitch.
Uh-oh, he got a call.
The old ruggin. Shaking out the rug. All right, give him a second. Come back in. Riker, do you want to continue that thought?
Yeah, I just hope Elon Musk doesn't rug me too. So, yeah, I think the RWA space is interesting, but we don't want to do stuff like mortgage-backed securities. But we're super careful with what we list, and that's really it. Yeah.
Perfect. I see Josh drop down, so hopefully we'll be able to get him back up on stage pretty shortly. All right, I feel like I gotta ask the question for Lady Trader. I almost feel obligated because she's not here. So, Riker, can you talk to me about how you work with KOLs?
No, you need to say that you're a KOL first, Wolf. Come on.
Okay, I'm a KOL. I would love to know how you work with KOLs. I gotta ask the question.
Yeah. So Josh, do you wanna take this one up as well?
Sure. So we did run a KOL round, but that was like pre-TGE, right? So I think very soon, if there is interest from a lot of people to come up, we might open up OTC rounds, so where you can buy into the project and help support. But that is far from out. You can just drop me a DM, and I'm more than happy to keep you posted when we start up something like this. But yeah, at the moment, I would say I think pre-TG we had about 300 KOLs that came in. And this is spread out across the globe, everywhere from CIS to Twitter, and we had YouTube KOLs, and yeah, so we're more than happy to come, work with KOLs that want to work with us. But yeah, so we just have to take the call offline.
There you go.
And I just wanted to share that we have a staking program and a referral program that we want to help expand and get to a lot of people. So a lot of times we ask people to sort of help us share these kinds of posts and these sort of things to get more exposure as well. So we're super excited to share these kinds of opportunities with different kinds of people. And yeah, and so recently, guys, we also gotten, I think, 10% of our entire supply staked across a few days, really. And it would not have been possible without the community and the KOLs helping us spread the message. So we're super, super grateful in that regard for that kind of achievement and progress. And that's really it. Yeah.
There we go. I'm glad I was able to get it in. I appreciate the answers there. Okay, one of the big questions: Binance when?
Yeah, so our boy CZ is coming out of jail pretty soon. So our goal is to make sure we get this to, like $1 billion and above, right? In terms of TVL. Consensus and a lot of tier one investors are invested into Zero End. So we cannot speculate because the moment we kind of do, Binance does not like that. I mean, I'm sure you guys know that if you talk about listing on Binance as a way to push your project, nobody likes that, and definitely Binance does not, right? But what I can share with you guys is that we are building a lot of value. We're building a lot of fundamentals. We're growing a lot. Um, and also, we are working aggressively on exchange listings. When Zerland launched, it launched on OKX, Bybit, KuCoin, Gate, MEXC, BitGet, whatever, Huobi. So these are like your at least 80% of the top 8 or 10 in the top 10 in CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, right? So yeah, we take exchange listings as one of our goals to make sure we get more exchanges listed post token launch, right? And that's basically it. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I had to ask. Had to ask. Okay, one interesting thing. I feel like we've talked about all the opportunities and some different pieces. I'd love to talk about the challenges, but specifically the technical challenges here in maintaining. And I think this is right up like Toki's and some other areas. The technical challenges in maintaining the cross-chain functionality for a lending market. I feel like that does get a little bit complex. How are you addressing all that? And really, what are the
Yeah.
challenges?
Right. So this is technical, but I'll try to keep it super, super simple. So when a money market or a protocol like Zerolend decides to, let's say, deploy on Ethereum or some BTC L2 or on Linea or Manta or Arbitrum, whatever, we try to see what is the potential for us to grow over there first. If we're solving a problem there. For example, recently Zerolend deployed on XLayer, which is the blockchain, the chain, the L2 run by OKX. And we quickly became the number one lending protocol and the number one protocol over there because we saw an opportunity of growth and the ability to solve a problem in that space. But if you look at other chains, for example, let's say Polygon or Avalanche or let's say Optimism, Ethereum mainnet, A lot of these guys already have your big competitors out there, right? So we try to assess what is the potential for us to add value into the chain, right? And once we kind of say, okay, hey, let's go deep into this blockchain or whatever, we do a lot of risk assessment and whatever to risk management analysis to make sure we can actually do it in a deploy there in a cost effective way. But in terms of risk, it's not too scary because if, let's say, worst comes to worst, one of the chains or one of the blockchains goes down completely, it's going to be okay for us because we just isolate our risk to that one blockchain that goes down. Every other market on Zerolend is going to be totally fine. So yeah, this is how we look at expanding to new blockchains. This is also briefly on how we look at risk. And we're super excited to see Zerolend go to as many blockchains and list as many assets as it can, as it humanly can, in the next 1 year. So that's really it.
Now, these chains that you're going on to, I totally get how you're assessing them. But are you focused mainly on EVMs, or is there like a tech stack that you're actually looking for?
Yeah, so this is, I guess this could be some alpha to you guys, to your community. Zerolend is looking at EVM chains, but we're also looking at expanding to non-EVM chains. We're specifically looking at the Solana ecosystem. I know a lot of you guys love the Solana ecosystem. We think that Zerolend has a lot of, can actually bring a 10 to 20x improvement to the lending space in the Solana ecosystem, but also not just Solana, but even the other non-EVM chains like Move and Sui and whatnot. So we're looking at expanding to as many chains, be it EVM, non-EVM. We're willing to take the risk to get these things audited and pay the risk management for it. But long story short is we're looking to expand to as many chains as we can, non-EVM chains included as well. So yeah.
That's actually music to my ears. And shout out to Josh in the audience from Cryptos R Us. He loves those meme coins as well. So if you can lend some on Solana, hey, guess what?
Yeah, you want to lend meme coins?
There
Yeah,
you go.
we can think about it. Okay.
Makes life easy. Hey, Nix, are we able to hear from you a little?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, amazing. I'm having so much problems with spaces today and yesterday. Hey, Zerolyn team. I'm so happy that you're here and I get a moment to speak with you. Sorry if I repeat a question because I'm trying to keep up, but something that I noticed when I'm listening to people in the Web3 spaces, there's always like a lot of terms that it's hard to put together sometimes. So sometimes the terminology slows down my comprehension. So I kind of want to advocate for people in the audience that might be new to the space. And you sort of mentioned this earlier around the idea of flywheels. And I noticed that a lot of companies that implement this, but also think of it from the perspective of how they can onboard new people into Web3 or new people, teach them, have tutorials, communities, and whatnot. But what kind of structures do you have in place to first, bring in new people to the space or bring in new people to Zerolend? And how do you get them kind of caught up to speed with, resources and learning? But then also, if you might be able to express it, what are a few ways that they could utilize the platform, like sort of express a few use cases of ways that they could benefit from using Zerolend?
Sure, I can.
Josh, do you want to take this? Yeah.
Sure, I can take this. Yeah. So, firstly, thanks for the question. So, to broadly answer the question on money markets, right? Usually, all of lending protocol is a heavy DeFi thing, right? Now, having said that, in our roadmap, we have a massive retail plan, and we have small steps that we've taken, in order to already get there, right? So, I can give you a quick rundown. There's a new tech stack in the space that you might refer to as EIP 4337, which is actually what enables a CAN abstraction. And this is a very small technical introduction to the Ethereum or the EVM space to basically improve user experience. And to give you in a long story short manner of what it means for retail is we're going to be allowing, and we actually have some of that already implemented on our zero gravity camping, where people can log in with Google or with, and soon also with facial recognition or fingerprint. But basically we have that underlying tech around a CAN abstraction already live on a few parts of Zeroland. Even now, if you go in and then say the Connect wallet, there's going to be multiple options, but one specifically we're in partnership with something called Particle Network, which allows you to do a Google or social login, right? So that's one small step, to bring retail to be able to access this. Now, the second thing is actually something I can't speak too much about, but we have it in our roadmap to get retail involved, right? And it can be as simple as, when you have a debit card in crypto, if you deposit ETH, you get a credit line in stable coins to be able to use that. So I can't elaborate anything more than that, but very simply put, that's the simplest use case, right? So as an individual, if you want to spend your ETH, you just come put your ETH on Zeroland, you get a credit line and a debit card, and you're able to spend that. Now, I'm not going to give you timelines or partners or names or anything else, but this is the retail idea, right? So it's a very simple use case, a very simple thing that people can come in and do, but it's not live yet, right? So right now, I would say majority of the utility lies with, the core DeFi users and people who want to come and do it. And secondly, for any protocol, if people think that it's going to do well, speculation on token or price is another thing that's available, right? And, from the alpha we've given here, regardless of whether you're a Zeroland user on the platform or not, right? You can take this token, you can buy the token and you can stake it, which entitles you to all the airdrops that come, as a part of our protocol. So these are a few simple ways, where people who don't use hardcore DeFi stuff can get involved with us right now, and more as the roadmap evolves. And if you're just following our Twitter, you stay tuned, you'll definitely be seeing this on our feed, I would say, a while from now.
Thank you for that. That was a beautiful answer, and I do want to give kudos that you guys are thinking about those things. As I know from a market analysis perspective, I'm always looking for companies that are thinking about how to onboard people outside of the space that they're already in, because I see that as a very huge sign for longevity. But if I know Wolf, he's probably going to pass the mic to both of you guys, and so that you can speak about your closing thoughts or just anything else that you want to close the conversation out with.
Absolutely, and always a pleasure. I'm glad we were able to make that mic work well for you next. Yeah, I will say, first things first, make sure everybody, if you're in the audience, you're following the folks that we do have on stage here. Some just great panelists, as well as an awesome company to learn from. And shout out to Brian for hanging with us as well here today. So just want to voice my appreciation for everybody on stage. I know we'll be having another space in about an hour, talking with the X Spaces crew. A lot to go over today as well. With that being said, you are correct. We'll go over for some final comments here. Joshua, anything else that you are looking forward to or you wanted to share with us that we didn't hit on today?
Yeah, no, I think you guys were pretty elaborate, and it's not usual for most AMAs, but I think I'm used to it by now, coming on your spaces. Yeah, but you guys covered most of it, and most of what we usually don't talk about, from retail and everything else, you guys hit that as well. The one thing maybe we missed out on is saying that, we're going to be expanding to a lot of markets, but I don't know if there's any folks that's bullish on Berachain or Taiko or, what else is there? Base, but these are all chains that we're currently evaluating to be jumping on. So you might see Zeroland as a lending protocol on one of those chains. So that's something to look forward to. The second thing I would love to look forward to is, having some of you guys come and follow our Twitter, jump into our community, and, hope to see some of you guys in there. I won't promise that I'll point you out because as of now, there's about 200,000 people on the Discord. But yes, if I recognize some of you guys, I'll definitely come in and say hi. Yeah, but that's all from my end, and thanks for having us, guys.
Thank you so much. Riker, anything else that you'd like to share with us? Make sure people are aware of? Test.
That much. It was like that much. But hey, Wolf, I got to thank these guys for actually having a sense of humor and rolling with the punches of these things. I got to be honest, yeah, we all love to make money in this space. We all love to actually have new platforms for us to borrow and lend and all this sort of thing. But having fun while we do it makes all the difference in the world.
I agree. I agree. It does always make for an enjoyable experience. I'll try Riker one more time if you want to unmute and share, but if not, or if he's vigorously over there trying to unmute, but Spaces just isn't letting him, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. But big thank you to everybody. Yep, there you go. He literally messaged me. He goes, "Fuck my life." Twitter. Okay. Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. It's all good. I appreciate you for coming on. I think we got all the points covered that we did need to cover. So again, big thank you to Joshua and Riker for leading the charge here, as well as Action, Nix, Toki, Kayla, Lucas was on here. See everybody in an hour on the X Spaces crew for some fun chats. Take care, everybody. Enjoy your Thursday morning.